let's analyze this. So, Inside the Ropes recently did an interview with the former, I believe, 7-time women's champion, Charlotte Flair, discussing 2019, the future, and what the WrestleMania main event could possibly be. They also touch on Charlotte's critics, and so let's see what they have to say.
And we're back here with the Queen herself, Charlotte Flair. Charlotte, it's lovely to see you in the United Kingdom.
I'm happy to be here.
We're here to launch the UK Performance Centre, and you're kind of like the poster child for WWE having a homegrown person who hadn't wrestled before, hadn't been anywhere else. You legit hadn't. That was your first thing. So obviously we're seeing you now on the main roster having these killer matches with Ronda Rousey and all the different people. Can you maybe talk about a couple of things that being in the US Performance Centre helped get you to where you are now?
Yeah, I could have talked about that for like 5 minutes earlier, but I didn't want to go on and on because I knew Finn was waiting to speak after me. But I know there's this idea, because I was a legacy talent, that everyone thinks I already knew everything and had all this experience. But prior to showing up at the Performance Center, I
don't know who thought that. Whoever thought that either doesn't watch wrestling outside of WWE or doesn't watch wrestling at all. Because I don't know who the hell would know that Charlotte had all of this other stuff going on prior. Like, all we know is that she had an athletic background, but it was in a multitude of other things. Had nothing to do with wrestling.
Knew nothing about wrestling. Like, I didn't even have favorites or really watched it that much. I solely wrestled for the fact of my little brother. So what you see right now is everything that the Performance Center had to offer. And the talent that does come in with prior experience, they were already like a mile ahead of me, because I still had to learn how to hit the ropes. How do you even fall in an unnatural way? How do you find a character? What is my character? When I first started, I was told I couldn't woo, I couldn't do anything like my dad, I couldn't do the figure four, I couldn't chop. But what the Performance Center does allow talent who has no prior experience is find their niche. The coaches work with you, the promo class works with you. I know for me, the gym was always like a safe place, just because I had played sports my whole life. So even talking to my strength coach at the time, saying like, well, what's true to you? You know, what do you like? How do you feel? Like, every person in that Performance Center that works there is there to help you. Even the training, what do you call it? The trainers,
Strength conditioning?
No, not strength and conditioning. Like your sports trainers.
Okay.
That stretch, like they're even talking to you about your character development and what'd you do today. So the facility does offer every resource to become a superstar.
And I do need to ask a question about you currently in WWE. There's so much buzz about the women's wrestling, women's division, and there's loads of rumors out there, and there was loads of rumors that maybe Ronda Rousey.
Okay, cameraman, chill out.
Becky Lynch might main event WrestleMania this year, but I've got to say, whether that's true or not, what's really interesting is that it feels like
the women will main event WrestleMania this year. They have to. Like I stated in the video when I covered Chris Jericho's interview upon his recent signing with All Elite Wrestling, I said that they've been building to this so much for so long that if they don't pull the trigger this year and have the women main event WrestleMania, it'll be like, well, what the fuck was the point of all of this? Honestly, it'll be like, what was the point of all of this? They had the first all-women's pay-per-view. They had the first women's Hell in a Cell, Royal Rumble match, Money in the Bank ladder match, Last Woman Standing match, Falls Count Anywhere match. So it's like, Elimination Chamber match. So they might as well just pull the trigger. Plus, the women over the last year have been the hottest thing. They've been the hottest thing compared to the men. You know, they've been more over. Their matches are more must-see. And I don't think that is solely on the women. I don't think the women are solely responsible for that. It's also creative's fault in a way. You know, you got to say that creative does have a part to do with that problem, because it should be 50-50, because at the end of the day, we all want an entertaining show from top to bottom. But they have to pull a trigger and just do it this year. I honestly don't see why not, especially with the fact that they got Ronda Rousey. There's like about 4 different ways that they could go about it. They could do Becky versus Ronda solely. They could do Charlotte Ronda 2. They could do the triple threat with all 3 of them, or they could do horsewomen versus horsewomen. And even that's less likely. That's a bit of a stretch, because Marina Shafir and Jessamine Duke, they literally just made their debut in NXT a few weeks ago. So they're going to get called up in the next several weeks already? No, they're not ready. So that's the least likely out of all of the other scenarios that I've pitched. But I say screw it, just do it. Just do it and have the main event mania. It's going to piss some people off. A certain straight edge former wrestler, it'll probably piss him off. But other than that, most fans will be happy about it. Because there are a lot of big stars in the women's division right now who are some of the best wrestlers in the world. We cannot deny that. And I'm not, this isn't me being an SJW or, you know, being a feminist or whatever. No, that's not what I am. I'm not that. And I will never be that. This is me with 3-dimensional thinking, understanding what I'm watching, and giving credit where credit is due. Because we have to. Evolution was one of, if not the best pay-per-view for WWE in 2018. We have to acknowledge that. We have to be fair and unbiased.
In the last 2 months, you have just got a new gear that we never saw before. Like, you were great before, but there's this new stuff, almost like an energy to you of kind of like, I'm going to work for my spot. I'm going to work for what I need, what I'm going to get here. And it feels like a lot of people that we talk to and stuff are saying Charlotte Flair is the one right now that everybody's talking about. You know, Asuka, Becky, and you. Your performance in that match, people love it. So for you as a performer, do you just kind of, how did you reach that new gear? What was it that maybe prompted you to maybe just, you know, whack the kendo stick out and just start laying Ronda Rousey out? It's a loaded question, so I apologize.
No, because I agree with you. I do have a new gear. I'm gonna get emotional. I think because okay. For so long, I felt like I couldn't brag or be proud of my accomplishments. That so many people were like, well, why is Charlotte Flair this many times champion? Why is she always in the title picture? Why is she main evented Raw and SmackDown? And like, when people kept saying that, it made me feel bad. Like, I actually felt...
And those people are silly. It's silly nonsense. They act like Charlotte was the only one to be main eventing those shows and those pay-per-views. I mean, come on, it's ridiculous. Now, do I think that she's had too many title reigns? Yes, I will say that. But that was mainly because of the ridiculous hot potato Rock and Mankind feud, or type of feud that she had with Sasha in 2016. And don't get me wrong, that was a great feud. It was feud of the year. It was the best feud of that year. And it'll probably go down as one of the all-time great feuds in terms of this quote-unquote PG era of 2008 to the present. It's going to go down as one of the best feuds in the last 10 plus years. But the hot potatoing of the title got a little ridiculous. It's like, this is Sasha versus Charlotte. Not why am I seeing a female version of Rock versus Mankind? Like, it was unnecessary. So that feud kind of put the stench in those title reigns for Charlotte. But she has deserved being the champion. Has she deserved 7 championships? No. 7 championships in a span of less than 5 years, to me, that's ridiculous. Getting the title that many times, to me, is just ridiculous. And even I was a little bit annoyed with how many times they gave the Intercontinental title to The Miz. It was like a 3-year stretch or 4-year stretch where he won it like 5 or 6 times. I was starting to get annoyed by that. The constant hot potatoing of the title. There are certain moments and certain spots and certain storylines where that makes sense, i.e. Rock and Mankind. It made sense to hot potato the title when it came to that feud, because you needed to build to Rock Austin for WrestleMania 15. But to just do that all willy-nilly in any feud, to me, it does a disservice. It does a disservice to the feud and to the title. And to the champion that holds the title. Or the champions that hold the title.
Bad for everything that I had accomplished. And certain individuals made me feel bad, instead of saying, like, why can't you just be proud of me knowing that whoever talent I face is...
By certain individuals, she means certain fans. Because I doubt there's anybody in the... Well, there might be some people in the back that have criticized her. But those people want her spot. So of course they're going to criticize her. They're going to criticize you when they want your spot. They're never going to give you any credit when they want your spot. When they're jealous of you. You know. Charlotte has consistently been, you could say, top 10, one of the best wrestlers in the world for the last 2.5 to 3 years. You know. So... I mean, if she's bothered by the fans, you know, saying these things to her and criticizing her in terms of that, she should just ignore them. She should just ignore them. At the end of the day, you're here because you want to be here. You're in the sport because you want to be here. So just do you. And how many ever critics you have, it'll be nothing compared to the loyal fan base that you have. That's what's more important. The people, like, focus on the people that actually care about you and people that want to see you succeed. Forget the ones that doubt you and constantly push you down. They're not important, because the more you make them important, the more that you emphasize them, you're gonna sink to their level, or you're gonna sink into a mindset that's equivalent to what they want. And then you're going to become unfocused, unmotivated, and you're going to fall. We have to understand as wrestling fans that Charlotte is 32. Okay, that's number one. She's 32. She didn't start wrestling until she was about, 27? I believe. So she made her debut, or she started wrestling in 2012. She made her debut around 2013, right? So she was 26. She was 26 when she started wrestling. That's pretty late. That's usually late for a wrestler. Most wrestlers don't start that late. They usually start between about 13 if you're overseas, and at the very latest 21 when they graduate from college. And I'm only talking about the wrestlers that go to college and finish college. You know? So she started late. And believe it or not, she's nearing the end of her prime. In terms of athletically. Mentally, she's coming into her prime. And you could see it. This year alone, you could see that mentally, her IQ and knowledge has gotten a lot stronger of wrestling. It's gotten a lot stronger compared to when she started. And usually when athletes get into their 30s, mentally they become better. They become smarter in terms of the sport that they are in. So IQ wise, she's getting better. Physically, I don't want to say she's declining, because obviously she's not, but she will start to decline within the next, depending on, the schedule and how hard she goes, within the next 3 years, she's going to start declining physically. That's just the truth. So she's in the middle of her prime, near the end. So they want to milk as much out of her as they can, because if you notice, most women wrestlers, they don't wrestle into their 40s. A lot of them retire between the ages of, I believe, 30 and 35. You can look this up. You can look up history. You can look up past women's wrestlers. Most of them do not wrestle past 35 because they want to start a family. They want to become mothers. And even the ones who become mothers and come back and continue to wrestle, they're not going to do it for long. Look at Brie Bella, for example. Because eventually they're going to miss their child, right? And they're going to notice that my kid is growing up slowly but fast, and I'm missing most of their life, most of their childhood, and I want to be there for it. I want to support them. So you got to think from that aspect. Charlotte is not going to do this into her 40s. She's not. If you think she is, you're dead wrong. Unless she doesn't want to have a family, then she'll probably do this until her 40s. But if she wants to have a family, she's only going to wrestle for about 3 more years tops, and then she's going to retire. So the company, they want to milk as much out of her as they can. See, fans, you guys got to think about this. 3D thinking. Very important.
On the journey with me. And I think once December rolled around, I had just had enough of where I can't apologize for being good.
By the way, I think other than, besides herself, Nia Jax, Alicia Fox, and Mickie James, those 4 women right there, they are the oldest active women's wrestlers in the company right now. Not counting NXT. Because if you want to go to NXT, then you got to count Shayna Baszler because she's 38. But Charlotte, Nia Jax, Alicia Fox, and Mickie James, they're the 4 oldest women on the roster. That tells you something right there. That tells you something. I'm gonna rewind it back a little bit because I wanted to hear Charlotte's complete sentence in terms of when she realized she didn't care anymore.
Once December rolled around, I had just had enough of where I can't apologize for being good. I am.
Nor should you. Who the hell is going to apologize for being good? No, who the hell is going to apologize for being great? You're great. You're not good. You're great. You're one of the best. And this isn't some women's empowerment type shit. I'm being for real. I'm telling the truth. Whether you want to agree or not, I don't care. I'm telling the truth. I'm going based on what I see on television when I see her in the ring.
That good. And I'm going to continue to prove people that I am the baddest woman on the planet, and nothing's going to stop me, and it is my destiny to main event WrestleMania.
Survivor Series, you had that match with Ronda, and everybody was talking about it. So, for you, this year, main event WrestleMania, is that the goal?
That is my goal.
And would you rather it was just Ronda, just Becky, both?
I don't care what woman's standing in front of me. It's just my goal because I am the main event.
Great. Charlotte, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alright, well, that's it with Charlotte Flair, and she should have that confidence, and she should carry that confidence for the rest of her career. She's still in the middle of her prime, so she should have it no other way, being that ultra confident. Charlotte at the end of her career is going to go down as one of the best women's wrestlers ever. Right now, it's still Gail Kim in terms of the greatest women's wrestler of all time, in my view. People do not give Gail Kim enough credit, but that's mainly because her WWE run was unsuccessful. But if she would have came back in the last, I'd say, 3 years, people would definitely have her over Trish Stratus or Lita, because they are overrated in terms of being called the GOAT. I'm sorry, that's just, it is what it is. They're not. But this was an interesting interview. I don't mind Charlotte's darker version of herself. It definitely takes away, like, she's slowly but surely starting to take away the comparisons from Ric Flair. Like, I don't see Ric Flair when I see her anymore. Not anymore. At one point, I saw it, like, from top to bottom, but now I don't see it as much anymore, especially with her starting the use of the kendo stick. She's a female Sandman now. But anyway, I'm out.